told and your voices be heard. May you shine like the moon, fly like a bird on wings of liberation. We will rise when we listen to the heart and the ways of the wise. Ways of the wise, ways of the wise. On the flames of transformation, we will rise from out of the shadows and into the light. Into the light, into the light.
Good morning and welcome everyone to Unify Women Rising, and of course, Spirituality Gone Wild. I am Debbie G, and I am going to also bring up our beautiful Rachel Morrison. Today, we have a divine special treat for everybody. We're going to be talking about the divine feminine. We have Sherry Herndon here, who's filling in for our beautiful Miranda. She won't be with us today, and we will be missing Amber today. She has 10 people at her house in San Diego just having a blast, and we know that's wonderful. But I'm here in Huntington Beach, and where are you at, Sand?
I'm here in Marin County, just over the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco Bay Area.
Beautiful. Rach, where are you at today?
Tuning in from Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado.
Love that. And Sherry, where are you?
I'm on Vashon Island on the Salish Sea off of Seattle.
Absolutely amazing. Rachel will be right back. Everybody, there she is. You know what? Actually, everybody that's joining right now, we could literally play like musical, just like whatever if we want to. In fact, we're going to raise the vibration and dive into the divine feminine today. Gentlemen, you are all invited, please. We cannot discuss the divine feminine without discussing the beautiful divine masculine, which I am really excited about. So I want to read something to all of you. And this is Sand's prayer for you, is that you hear a whisper in these words, the call of life herself to women everywhere, to step forward boldly, to shake off the limitations placed on us for centuries, and to shine with the full power and brilliance we hold inside. My role, should you allow it, is to guide you in your own divinely ordained ascension into sovereignty, then to support you to discover and embody the unique array of medicines and powers you are here to contribute to healing, balancing, and leading our world. With love, Sand. And I wanted to read that rather than Sand's bio. And the reason why is because I feel it really gives you the truest essence of who Sand is and what she is going to be bringing to us today. So welcome to Women Rising, Sand.
Thank you so much, Debbie. It's just an honor to be in this space with Sherry and Rachel and you, and on this Memorial Weekend as well. It's a very prominent time on our planet right now, and certainly here in the US. So it's great to be here. A lot to say, a lot to learn, a lot to listen to about the divine feminine, these four beautiful women that are on this call today.
I love that. So here's something really cool that you all didn't know. So behind the scenes, we're getting ready, and Sherry comes on, and Sand and Sherry know each other and haven't seen each other in 12 years. This is the call of the divine feminine. All of a sudden, like, you wind up in the same space as someone else and you go, wow. So I wanted to preface that because this is how uniquely divine that this is going to be. But I'd like to take a jump in and start with Rachel, with the divine feminine, because if there is anybody that I know who embodies divine feminine to the nth degree, it is Rachel Morrison.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm guessing you want me to speak to the divine feminine. And I think part of that practice, since there is no prompt or question, is to fully open up to be able to receive the information that is uniquely being guided and given into our hearts, into our being, into our breath, and into our actions. And when we do that, and we have the ability to receive all of everything as if it is the most precious gift that's ever been given to you, because it has and it's true, regardless come what may, we're able to move and create and alchemize what is needed in every moment, still coming from the depth of gratitude, joy, and our reciprocity of being able to give the gift that's been given to us, because we've taken the time to go all the way in, pull and create and rearrange and remove all the different cobwebs that are in the areas that get stuck, so that the inner radiance can shake off the soot of an ancient dharma and reveal and give birth to the future, the world, the moment, the life that has been divinely destined for all of us. And like the radiant field and attractor that type of living embodiment foundation creates is so juicy. It is so juicy. And we just get to be in it and dance with it and make love to it. Like the first time you've ever tasted something that was the best thing you've ever tasted. So
Rachel. That's it. The divine feminine is this beautiful, juicy taste of the most incredible peach. It's the sweetness, it's the nectar. We are that. I love that, Rachel. And I mean, I'm going to throw it back to Debbie-ville and just say, we make people. I want you all to just take a minute. I mean, we are the divine feminine. We are women. We create. We are creators. We are all creators. Couldn't do it without the help of the divine male. But I want to actually pass this over to Sherry. And then for everyone, do not leave. Stay with us because Sand is about to take us through a divine meditation. And so I want you all to experience it. So make sure you hang tight. Sherry, what would you like to share about the process of becoming the divine, stepping into the divine feminine?
Wow. Well, it's such a great inquiry into self-knowing, like self-gnosis. And I think for a long time, not think for a long time, but for millennia, we have not been living in harmony with the masculine and the feminine. In many ways, women and that divine aspect of the feminine creator has been suppressed and denied. And so it's like a reclamation into our true essence. And I love that you named that we are, we give life. And there's the source of creation is like feminine aspect of the source of creation. And when we actually kind of recognize ourselves as birthers and as creators and that creatrix in harmony with the receptive, juicy, as Rachel was like naming this aspect of communion and power, not to think that the feminine is just only, that yum and that receptivity and that juiciness, but also like the Kali and like Durga comes when the world is in greatest need to say no to what is not true, good, and beautiful. So there is this like power. And I think that what we're seeing for women now is this like balancing of this rising power in ourselves of who we are, kind of taking our rightful place on the planet after having, all you have to do is look around at the parliaments and the governments of the world, and you're like, where are those women in leadership? So if we actually see ourselves kind of coming into an era, that golden age, when that balance of this feminine power of creation can be harmonized with the masculine energy, and in that hieros gamos of sacred union, well, then we see a whole different kind of reality creation. So I feel like we've been creating with just part of ourselves, and really these times demand us to kind of step in. And it's the divine feminine. I think we think of, like, we add on divine to things, but actually it's our true divine nature. And I think we're just still discovering, like, I'm still discovering what am I as this divine feminine being, priestess, oracle, channeler, birther, midwife. There's also a great mystery. And I'll just end this with sharing of, like, a story from a Humbotsman, a Mayan elder, in 1995. And it was at a gathering. He came to Seattle, and he said, the world will not be changed until there is a balance between the masculine and the feminine. And I remember maybe he said men and women, but I remember, like, going, how the world's going to change because of balance of masculine and feminine. This was in 1995, and it was kind of like, well, duh, of course. Oh, yes. So I feel like the role for us women is stepping into our power, stepping into our greatness, and recognizing ourselves that we actually come from source. We're like divine. We're connected to source in all these different aspects.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. And without further ado, for all of you, I see that you've been holding tight. 2 things. 1, I have put into the chat a link for a free journey with sand, and I'll put the link in again. But right now I'm going to hand this over to Sand, and she's going to take us through a meditation.
Thank you, Debbie. So beautiful, Rachel and Sherry. You've really ignited those flames and activated those codes inside. For all of our listeners listening to this live or in the recording, I invite us all to just take a moment here. And in this moment, the phrase I'm going to use is come home to yourself. And what does that mean? And that could be right now, you could gently close or lower your eyes if that feels right for you. You can keep your eyes wide open, whatever feels right for you. And in that invitation to come home, especially for women, we might be encouraged to perhaps place a hand on our heart space or a hand on our belly, on our womb space. And if that feels awkward for you, then just place your hands wherever you like. But this coming home in this moment, we're coming home to recognize the divine sense of who we are. In this incredible weekend of a memorial weekend, a weekend of remembering. And we've already had the words what Rachel has brought into the space of receiving. And in this connection, can we come back to ourselves and open our space to being a receiver of life? And just by following our breath right now, letting the breath breathe this vessel. Breath comes in, breath gets released. Breath comes in, breath gets released. And in that, could we open ourselves a little more today? In that in-breath, is there anything in the body that we want to open, relax, or release? When woman comes home to herself in this way, she's deepening that connection to the divine that she is, the truth of who she is, the authenticity of who she is. And as Sherry has also claimed a beautiful medicine word and said, reclamation. In this moment, what would you be open to reclaiming as we breathe in and release, and breathe in and release? If there was something that we could reclaim today, just in this moment, what would we claim? What would we reclaim? Would it be voice? Would it be passion? Would it be kindness, generosity, anything that would have you feel even more alive, even more vibrant, even more open to the deepest truth of who you are as a divine being. And as we keep breathing in and releasing, once we've claimed that powerful medicine, almost like a gentle soul retrieval, I am claiming and reclaiming pieces of myself that I may have given away or lost along the way or got covered over. I'm claiming my sovereignty today. I'm claiming my rightful place on this earth today. And what would be the medicines, the gifts that you would love to reclaim and activate to fully own that? I'm claiming my inner strength, my courage, my compassion. And when we've claimed those medicines, as we're breathing in and breathing out, I invite this ending of this meditation, whatever medicine you claim for yourself, offer it to all women on this earth, so that she too can know herself today through this meditation, through this invocation, through this prayer, that she too is a sovereign woman on this earth, that she too can claim those pieces and parts of herself so she can stand more fully and more completely on this earth. Let's take one last collective breath in together, filling this beautiful body, this beautiful vessel, our energetic space, and then release all that no longer serves. And if your hands are still on your body, you might want to give yourself a hug. And 3 of the most powerful words we know on this earth, which is I love, and then your name. I love, and then your name. I love, and then your name. And if we smile, today is a good day. Today we came together in prayer, in invocation, and in sacred circle. Women rising, women sovereign. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and come back into the space.
Thank you. That was powerful. Whew! Ladies, feel that? I'd love to know from the audience, what did you pull back to yourself? What power did you pull back? I loved it. My whole body felt courage. That courage to step into my truth, regardless of what somebody else thinks of me, regardless of anything, just really stepping into what's true compassionately with myself. I love this. Renee says divinity. Divinity. That is beautiful. Let's take a little shift to talk about the divine, how that we gently balance the divine masculine within us and feminine. And the reason I bring this up, my experience has been a mom that had both roles for a long time. And when you are doing that, whether you can be married and still be the mom, having all the role of taking care of and nurturing, which is what we're really good at. But I, in my life, became too strong with the divine masculine. So what I can say is that at any time in my life that I have been in that space where in fact, this was just recently, this isn't just any time, I noticed that and I said, the reason I'm in so hardcore in my divine masculine right now is because I don't feel safe to be in my divine feminine. And because I don't feel safe to be in my divine feminine, I'm just not going. I'm going to. I'm in my divine masculine. It's my protective shield. The awareness of that really brought me into a space of being able to sit with that and ask myself, do I really need to do this? Is it really necessary that I be that when I prefer to be softer and more compassionate and more passionate and more alive within my feminine? And that was my process. So I'd love to know how that you have balanced, each of you. How have you managed to balance the divine masculine and feminine? Because I know at least one of you here was a single mom. And I know how tough this is. Rachel.
Yeah, so I am a single mom. I've been dad mom for a long time. And there's so much here in the balancing. Because as San said, there's a huge reclamation. I think Sherry led to it as well, about healing is really important, and making sure that the field that you come from when accessing your masculine potential comes from a pristine place. Because I know what it feels like when the balance is off and how pseudo identities will emerge. And having the practice of knowing both pieces of it. One, if you're so deep in the ethers and in the essence and in the spiritual flow of things, and your household, your finances, or anything practical is out of whack, you're not doing your spiritual practice. It's that simple. And if you have high level of structure and abundance and like things are happening, but your relationships are in the toilet, guess again, because it's off. So I've had the wonderful life education of understanding these things and doing what's necessary to bring those into a refined practice. Because it's never really like the balance piece. It's about how fluid we can be in the structures we create with the vision that we're holding, and being completely devoted to it while allowing everybody else's reality to come into play to that, while being a dominant oscillator to the truth that we know.
That was so vulnerable and honest, Rachel, and I love you for that. I love that. Being in the divine feminine is being honest with yourself. Honest with you. I remember those days walking around, I can't trust anyone. Who I really couldn't trust was myself. It was me. I couldn't trust me. I couldn't trust my gut instincts because I had made decisions that maybe didn't feel 100% yay. I now appreciate those because they showed me what I absolutely wasn't my preference. But the honesty is so important when we're stepping into our divinity. The balance of and that honesty, though, when it's met with compassion and tenderness, that's the divine feminine part. We get to nurture ourselves. We get to hold our space. You know, I keep seeing all these things about narcissists, this and this and that. And granted, there are some tough situations out there, but I always ask myself, because I started doing the same story and then I realized that it was a story. So for me, honesty meant shedding the story and no longer being in that story. I had to change it. I had to change my story of abuse and victimization and all of those things in order to step into my true divinity. But I had to get really, really honest. Rachel, I think that was just so on point, honey. That's it. And honesty. So I'm going to say to everybody out there, that is the message right now, is that I encourage you to ask yourself, are you truly being honest with yourself, and just sit there? And I know that sometimes it's not really super fun for for us to own it, because we've been conditioned to blame other people. And my biggest awakening in life was the day that I sat there and went, it's just me. And I did that because I stayed single. Can I just preface that? I stayed by myself, so I had nobody but my dog. And I know Foxy didn't do it. just really, she didn't do it. God, I really needed to say those words today, because today I'm married, and I needed to hear myself say that to remind myself, it's you. Quit, because I just want to own it. I've done a couple finger points lately, just saying. So I'd like to step in over to Sherry, and then we'll go back to San. And audience, please put into the comments anything that's resonating with you. I also want to remind you that there is a link for a free journey with San coming up. Please click that link and go and join. And I've got something really special to tell everybody about the self-love 30 days. Just saying. You want to keep tuned for that, because you're going to be in shock. I'll tell you, it's over 75% off. So you really want to hear about that. Okay, I'm done with my plugs. Sherry.
Can you give me your prompt again so I'm aligned, because I want to make sure.
Absolutely. We are talking about the balance of the divine masculine and feminine in our life, and how that we've each done that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a journey where I am now compared to where I have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I think the self-honesty is really, it's like the know thyself piece of it. We've been so separated from ourselves. So the humility that it takes to kind of come all the way back in, like your meditation sand of like coming home. And that honesty enables us to like see with humility really the state of things. So then we can kind of assess like, well, where am I in relationship to these dynamic aspects of ourselves? Because we're always in flow. And ultimately, I think in some ways, it's like, oh, I'm over here in the masculine. Oh, I'm over here in the feminine. And I think the more we harmonize and balance those aspects, there's like a natural just harmony, like life is doing it, like the elegance and beauty of life just in flow. And a way of being out of balance that was really true for me, particularly 20 years ago, was very dramatic, is I use the gene keys as kind of barometers, or like certain things, is when I would be like in the masculine drive, and then somehow to like agentic to make things happen, which is very powerful, instead of like the surrendering or the allowing or letting go or softening, that in order I used to think to get something to happen, I had to push and I had to force. And that's like a shadow frequency of one of the gene keys, which goes to strength as the gift. And then the divine attribute is majesty. So when you're in this kind of whenever I feel myself in a force energetic of like, oh, I'm going to make it happen. Oh, it's mine to do. Oh, I know. Any of those energetics, that's out of balance. In right harmony, they're powerful, beautiful energies. So it's almost like looking at the shadow frequencies of some of these aspects of ourselves. And when we actually can lift them up into a higher frequency, because our egos aren't there. They're softened. We've done the inner work. A lot of this we're talking about, we haven't named it, but is the inner, I think maybe Rachel alluded to it, but the cleaning up, the alchemy, the deep, you don't know thyself and go, I know thyself now. No, then you get to like go, wow, I've been doing that. Oh my gosh. And that's like who I am right now. So, you have to like, one of those attributes is self-forgiveness, to like be in that self-forgiveness. But there's so many ways of looking at the feminine and the masculine and the kind of the polarity. And there's so many distinctions that I don't even want to like box them up. I think they're all useful. But I think we can feel that you know, autonomy is this expression of that we use for the masculine, that energy of like autonomy, which is sovereignty, and that's powerful. But when it becomes so independent that it doesn't feel the communion of the feminine, this like communion relational quality, then you can't connect with other people. So it's almost like you can feel the quality of your relationships is a direct relationship to how you're harmonizing that masculine and feminine.
That was beautiful. I loved how that you were talking about self-forgiveness in that too. I think it was really important because right before that, we're talking about being honest with ourselves. And I felt that that was such a brilliant way to pull that in together, because if you're going to be honest with yourself, it requires that deep compassion for you. Be empathetic with yourself first. You're in your own shoes. You don't even need to try to be in anyone else's, you know. So, Sand.
This is so juicy. I kind of want to sit around a table now, and like we're doing here, but in real time. So the eloquence and the journey, and I love honesty, the medicine of honesty, bringing that into the space. And I love how you've shared, Sherry, of the polarities that we have with the divine masculine and feminine. I want to kind of go a little bit historical just for a moment, just to kind of put a little bit of a preference there. And by saying, in our patriarchy, the patriarchy has been the masculine, and we've lived in the patriarchal system for thousands and thousands of years. And this uprising that we're finding and seeing and experiencing on the planet right now, that we've called so many different things, as Sherry said, I don't want to put it in boxes. I don't want to have to label it. But sometimes it's helpful to us to get an understanding, I guess, of where we're going as women on this earth. And once we start to awaken, when woman in particular, when we start to awaken to that divine feminine inside, that level of honesty can be a very painful journey for some of us. It can be a very challenging journey for some of us. I know when I first threw myself through the door of something called spirituality, I had no idea what the journey was going to be like on the other side. I was like, I don't want this anymore. I want some of that. So I kind of, I was an away from. And Debbie, we've spoken in the past about, I was a single mum. So same as our gorgeous sister here, Rachel, a single mom for many, many years. And also in my background as well, came from physical violence in the home and abuse in the home. So, and then here we are, the hero's journey, if you like, or the wounded healer, coming into all those professions. Me and three of my sisters all ended up in social work. So I'm mixing all these up a little bit to give us, I'd love to come out to the global piece of a historic piece. If we know as woman and man, but as woman in this piece, that we've been swimming in the sea of patriarchy for so long, that somebody else out there has been giving us a map of the world, how we should show up in the world, be in the world. Then we're born, kind of thing. And then we get another map of the world from our parents, our caregivers, that they tell us what the map of the world should be. So we have that. Then we go through our teenage years. And as women in particular, we're going through all our hormonal, screeching moments. And then society, magazines, and now social media are giving us another map of the world. There is a lot of confusion. There can be a lot of confusion. And even in this conversation, I just want to feel for a moment the listener, or that might be, I have no idea what you're all talking about right now. I don't know what this divine is. I don't know what this is. What about me? There's something inside of me as woman that I'm just feeling that there is a piece of me that I want to either reclaim or I want to release. So in a simple way of like, where can I release something and where can I claim something, going back to the meditation there. And in the patriarchal system, the systemic infrastructure that we're a part of, I want to bring your word out, Debbie, which is that compassion. to have so much compassion for ourselves in our own awakening, to have compassion for ourselves in even knowing or wanting a different life, compassion of looking out of the world going, I want the world to look different. I want my life to look different. So how can I have compassion if I'm going to be really honest? How can I look inside when there's pieces and parts of me that I'm scared of, I'm ashamed of, I don't like, and I don't want the world to know about? And the way I'll end with this, what came to me in a plant medicine ceremony many, many years ago was inside of us, we have sun medicines and we have moon medicines. And the sun medicines are what we want Facebook to know about. We want Instagram to know about. We want everybody out there, sun medicines of generosity and kindness and creativity. And then the moon medicines are the medicines that we don't want anybody to know about. The moon medicines of anger or rage or disappointment or jealousy or competition and judgment. And in the medicines, when the medicine kind of in this medicine journey, plant medicine journey that I was in, and I said, I don't understand. Help me understand my own moon medicines and sun medicines and why they're here. And they said, just like you would never see the moon in the sky without the sun, same. You have inside of you medicines, your sun medicines, your courage, whatever we were claiming before, that the courage, the inner strength, you have those sun medicines to help you look at with compassion your moon medicines. And then the final piece was, remember, they're not ours, but we are a custodian of them. They were handed down. That map of the world of how to be in the planet and in our own skin came from parents, caregivers, and there's that intergenerational trauma and wounding and patterns and maps of the world that were passed down to us. So it can be quite a big soup to look at when we start to go into when we start to delving into that. And I want to say, and I'm sure Rachel, Cherie, and Debbie, you've got your own version. Wherever we are in our journey to keep going, and wherever we are in our journey to find our tribe, wherever we are in our journey to find, a community of people around us, to join us in the ecstasy of it, in the joy of it, and also to be there when it can be a challenging or difficult time as well. I am complete.
That was beautiful. And one of the things that you brought up was how that you're releasing that, but then you also brought up something for me as you're talking. Our lineage, our generational, the generation after generation after generation. It takes a really strong individual to stop it, to stand up and stop. And I know that because we're sitting here with a panel of women who said, I'm choosing to stop this. This stops with me. It ends here. Who else has ever felt that through curse, that going through your veins? It stops with me. There will be no more generational curses. There will be no more pain and suffering to that extent. This will be different. Leanna Rogers says, I want the world to look different for the children. Then start with you. Start with you. You start right where we sit. We each are here to show and express that there is a different way to do this, and the different way to do this is stepping into our sovereignty as human beings, as a woman, as a man. If it doesn't really matter, as a human being, to know and understand that you are not the product from which you came. You are you. Who is that? You may not even know, because I know I didn't know, and that's okay too. But at least you're there and you're asking yourself the question, because I love that. And I think that's perfect. And no matter where you're at on this journey, it's perfect. But understand the strength you have. I think that's why courage was such a really great word today. It's like that courage. And I want to tell you a very big truth. And the reason it's so big for me, I had a dream the other day about my mom. My mom is like the most incredible woman, and she's got such strength. But I had this dream because I'm telling her, Mom, would you get over it already? Stop. My mom doesn't want to really have much to do with me because I'm not willing to sweep life under the rug, because I've decided it stops and it's going to end with me. I'm done. It's done. I am the eldest daughter, so I'm also, the orneriest one, being the oldest. It's very difficult for me. And when you were to not be with my mom, because I was very attached to her, and she's still here. And sometimes I wonder, it's so difficult sometimes to mourn people when they're still alive. But then we remember that we're always connected. And then, Sand, as you were going through the meditation, and we were looking at the other women out there that we could heal the pieces for, she was the person that I pulled to me, to my heart. But I really want to tell you all, and I share this with you for this reason. There's no victim story here. What I'm telling you is that it takes courage to step into your divine feminine, and it takes courage to change the story of generational stuff. And it takes courage to tell yourself the truth, and it takes courage to tell other people the truth, and they may not like it and they may want to disown you, and I understand it. Oh well. My God, look how awesome you are, and they're missing out on that? What the hell? You feel me? You are worthy and deserving of breaking it, so do it. And look at me. I'm here and I'm good and I'm fine and I'm thriving and I'm shining. Regardless. Regardless. And I want you to hear that. But I want to thank these ladies here right now where we sit, because each one of you have brought such a beautiful divine peace to my heart today. I want to thank you, audience, for being here with me as I share this story, because each one of you are part of me and I am part of you. So, and there's a free journey with Sand, and I'm going to post the link again just in case you missed it. Just had to plug it. Rachel, take over, girl.
Taking over is like the opposite of divine feminine, Dad. But is it, right? That's a good question. Something that's coming up for me right now is the noticing. The noticing and the willingness. And I think a really practical step in your own internal noticing, introspective observation, and sensing into your own internal temperature around these aspects is just to take a moment and feel in your body if there's any pain sensations, discomforts, your mental, your emotional, your physical, your spiritual. And if there are any, anywhere, that might be an indicator of a part of you that is playing small. Because if for some reason we're not embodying our soul code, the grandness of our soul becomes contorted into the identity that we think we need to be in order to function appropriately here. And so my invitation for everyone hearing this message from the universe on Unify is to sense into that discomfort, if there is any, and get bigger. Get bigger. Like, feel the balance exercise is like to feel the information come through of what's true and what's possible. And then the masculine aspect of that is to grow and radiate through, so that it kind of like dissolves whatever that thing is that you think might be in the way, and find that key, that virtue, that gift that wants to be liberated in you so that you can be the embodiment of the thing that the next generations need and can see an example of it being successful and amazing, luscious vitality in the world. Because that's what's going to change it, for living, breathing examples that our children and others have of people and projects and audaciousness being wildly successful in this world.
I was muted. And Rachel brings it home. I just absolutely love this, because what I'm hoping is that audience, that what you're catching is that you are perfectly awesome just where you sit. But are you playing small? I heard you, Rachel. Are you playing small? What are you allowing to be your excuses? Why are you not stepping into your truth? What's going on?
Well, and it was a really like visceral example for me
Yeah.
this week, because I do prayer dancing, like feather indigenous things. And for a moment, in like the grandness of the dance, I hesitated just for a second in like how deep I was able to like go in the bow. And that tore me up. And I've been living with this lesson for the last like 10 days or so. Like, oh, it can come back. It will come back. But like there was that second moment that of doubt, even if it's just a little, will grip in the body. And if there's like layers and layers and layers of that type of stuff, the body just kind of turns septic. And that's not what we're here to do. We're here to pour life into this world that is, as Sherry said, good, true, and beautiful, and the foundation of what we're here to do.
But amazing, Miss Rachel. And thank you for sharing again, vulnerably. Vulnerability without expectation, though. Vulnerability of just being without needing to have anything in return. Vulnerability just so that you can be in the essence of who you are. And I love that, Marie. I am in alignment with that. We are not broken in any way, shape, or form. We might have some perspectives or belief systems that maybe they're not working. Maybe they are. Who knows? Only you know that. So I'd love to step into. We're just going to do open conversation now. So who would like to speak next?
I'd love to just chime in as something that you were pointing to a little bit ago, Debbie, around the saying, I'm the one to say no to continuing that collective trauma. Because I believe that this generation that we're in, a couple of generations in here, this time is where we are really like en masse wounded healers, where we've said, we're now conscious of what's happening. And we can choose to not participate in that which does harm. That's also the feminine's role of like, no more harm. I'm not doing harm. You know, I had in my own family, my father was very patriarchal, and he was always right. And he had very strict Christian fundamentalist beliefs. And so growing up with him, it was like filled with judgment. There was so much judgment. And I made my brother promise with his daughters, and he actually did over years. I would be like, do not pass it on to your children. Do not pass it on. You can see where you are failing. And I remember being in a very intense conversation with my father, like 6 years ago. And I'd never really let out my anger at him for his non-Christian ways. You know, I forgave him, and he listened and listened. And then he was like, I've prayed to have my anger stopped my whole life, but it never did. And it was like, you didn't do your own work with it. And so now he just didn't have those tools. So I really feel like, wow, when we realize how much collective trauma over lifetimes and in this, our history of humanity, and how much we're clearing and purifying and like tending to our fields and the relationships and caring about that versus what's exterior to us, like being that change, like Rachel was saying, that kind of transformation, like we're really on the cusp. And I feel like a key word for women, and it's always for men and women, but for women, is that we're midwifing a new culture. You know, in the Awakening the Dreamer, we would talk about hospicing the old culture and midwifing the new. And so I really feel like we've done so much hospicing, and it still has a lot to go. It's not done, but we're more and more stepping into the majesty and our greatness. And like Rachel was saying, that expanding into our brilliance, because I can tell you, every story we've been told about who we are is not the real story. And even if we were told you're great, it's like, it's not even understanding the magnificence of our radiance and our eternal nature that's like incarnating on this planet at this time. It's actually like such a privilege. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, all this transmutation is really like, it's like, I'm tired of the transmutation. And yet it's like, what an honor it is to be here to serve life in this way with the consciousness of our awareness of what's possible.
I love that. And I also love how that you brought such an awareness and consciousness to this, because we are all doing this together and it's a joyful experience. Sand.
Thank you. I want to presence our ancestors here because they're right here. They're right here. They're here in the conversation. They're here in our space. And I want to invite this. And again, this came through a long time ago in meditation and through a beautiful, powerful drumming ceremony when my collective ancestors were in the space, and I could see the collective ancestors of other people in the space, and they were saying, you are the ancestor that we've been waiting for. Like you are the ancestor that we've been waiting for. And it took several years to kind of have that digest and integrate. And I think just all of what we've been talking about today with Rachel and the embodiment, and Debbie, how you're speaking about the compassion, and Sherry, what you've just brought into the space of, it's almost like we've done all the hard work, the hard healing back here. That intergenerational trauma that gets pulled through can pull through an individual because we are the ancestor we've been waiting for. And a few decades ago, there was a sense that whatever work one individual can do, we can literally free up 7 generations back and seven generations yet to come. But it's gone even more now because we've got more consciousness on the planet. We've got more light on the planet. There are more beings that are waking up on the planet. There is definitely more hope. And we're on that cusp in these unprecedented times. I think we all know that we're on this trajectory. We're literally changing the trajectory of our humanity. And if we are the ancestor that we've been waiting for, and we do the work, and we know that what we're changing is not just for us in our own life, but for all those next generations to come, then how can it, it's like, that's to me, it's like, how can I get behind, I am the ancestor that my ancestors have been waiting for? Because like you said, Sherry, your dad didn't have the tools. My dad didn't have the tools. My mom, my parents, my grandparents, they didn't have the tools. And when we think of ancestors, in our intellect, I guess we can only go back sometimes 2 or 3 generations in a knowing, a parent or a grandparent or a great grandparent. And then it's kind of, well, who are all those behind them? Where are all those ancestors? And here's what I want to really bring in is our ancient ancestors and our healed ancestors. We do know how to be on this earth with balance and harmony. We do know how to be on this earth with the divine feminine and masculine inside of us, because we have ancestors that lived on this earth in that beautiful, powerful time when it was balance and harmony of how to be, not in prehistoric times, but even further behind that. And we've got that coding. Rachel, you talked about the coding, that we have a coding inside of us that our ancestors want to ignite and to illuminate, and these medicines that we've got inside of us for these times. And for the next generations to come, we are already the ancestor that our future generations are actually asking for now, if we don't believe necessarily in time and space as it is on this planet. So in that one moment of I am re-choosing something different, in that moment, if we could even just for a moment imagine the majesty of that power in that moment, that we've chosen, we've had free will given to us, and in that moment we chose something different, when everything wanted us to go into an old pattern or an old behavior or an old thought, and we shape-shifted it and we tweaked it and we said no, and we started to move. And then that literally sends, like the butterfly wings can create a tsunami, we literally are feeding 8 billion souls on this earth. When we move that little bit, no, I'm not going to choose that. That was the old way. I'm choosing a new way. This is me standing in that power. Then we literally have just fed 8 billion souls on this earth. So it's powerful. It's powerful. It's majestic. It's wonderful. So that's what I wanted to say. So we are the ancestor we've been waiting for.
We are the ancestor we've been waiting for. I love that. And I want to thank this incredible audience we've had today. You guys are just like on point and amazing. I want to share really quickly, because we're coming to the end. Before you leave watching, or if you're just joining us, Women Rising you've seen the Self-Love Fest. If you've missed it, the replay is available. But we really want to invite you on this 30-day journey. And we heard you. We got the messages in. So we took it from $222, we dropped it to $44 for the whole month, because we want all of you to join us. That's why. Because self-love is so important that money should not ever stop us. And so I put the link into the chat, and that's what we're doing. You know, the audience speaks and we say, okay, we feel you. Let's do it. Let's do it the way that it's going to work for everybody, because this information is really important. These practices are important, and we really want you to join us. So that's my little plug for Women Rising right here on Unify. Please join us. It is right there into the chat. I'm going to post it one more time. Well, in a minute. Do a quick round the table, last words, and please tell them how to work with you, get a hold of you. We're going to start with Sand, and I want to know a little bit more about your blueprint, as well as let them know about the beautiful offering that you have given to everybody watching today, and the replay.
Thanks, Debbie. Well, we're all invited. We're inviting you as our guest to come along and do an ancestral breathwork journey. If you're ever curious about working with ancestors, this is a time for you to come and have an experience of working with ancestors. In a beautiful container, we've got an incredible community of women there. And because it's breath work, as Rachel said, it's like the coding and this reclamation and this opening and receiving. And breath work can really do that, can get us out of that left brain, the logical masculine brain, if we like, and have us more into a receptive. So come to the breathwork journey that we're inviting you to, if you have that curiosity to be curiosity to connect to ancestors, or if you want guidance or insights from your ancestors, like you're in a place in your life where you're looking for direction or clarity, then please, come along to that ancestral breathwork journey. We run them twice a month under the new moon and the full moon. Of course, we're women. We want all of our juices flowing through the moon cycles. And then the Sovereignty Blueprint, Debbie, thank you for presence in that. That is an 8-week full immersion program where you'll literally go through a lot of what Rachel, Cherie, and Debbie we've been talking about today, through looking at the places inside of us that we're still, the stories, the wounding that we're still holding on to release those, transmute those, transcend those, and really claim our true sovereignty, that true authentic woman that we are inside. So, and you can find me on my name anywhere. If you Google Symes, you'll find me. Debbie, thank you so much for today. What a juicy conversation with Rachel and Cherie. Thank you.
It's been a joy to have you. I was really looking forward to it, and I hope everybody will meet us in the journey with Sand. it's going to be incredible. You experienced it earlier. If you're just joining us, when this is over, go back, watch the replay, because it was an incredible meditation. It was very, very healing. So Sherry and then Rachel, and we've got about a minute.
Awesome. Well, the one thing I would just say as parting words is slow down. Our world is so fast, and in order to be receptive, we need to slow down. So like in the meditation, we were really invited to, like, I felt, oh yeah, finding that rhythm of life, the deeper rhythm and the deeper currents, because then we can feel more, receive more, experience more. The nervous system calms down. We can be more present. And then if you want to, I have a podcast called Awakening Together, and it's awakeningtogether.one. And I just interviewed Sarah Drew of Gaia Codex, and she'll be out next week. So that's super juicy for all the women in Divine Feminine. And you can contact me through there. And also I'm on Facebook and Instagram and other places. And I have a meditation too. You can check out awakeningtogether.bandcamp. And it's called Deepening into Essence. And it's a really beautiful journey with the musicians Yaima. And this has been wonderful being here with you all. You can just feel how luscious it is to be together in the sisterhood.
Thanks, Jerry. So the words that I'll leave with you guys, I'll be short and sweet, is nobility, grace, and attunement. Feel into those words, live into those words. If you want to hang out with me more, you can find me on rachelmorrison.org, and there's all kinds of fun stuff we can do there.
All right, everybody. Thank you so very much for being here. You have been a beautiful audience. Enjoy your 3-day weekend. I mean, it's just going to be a phenomenal. The replay of this will be also on Wednesday night. So if you're watching this replay on Wednesday night on Unify, we will be in the audience chatting with you. So we'll be having some fun with that. Please join us for our 30-day self-love retreat. We've dropped it, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Let us rise.